The Harpy, a creature rooted deeply in ancient mythology yet continually evolving through centuries of storytelling, is traditionally described as a fearsome hybrid being possessing the body of a massive predatory bird combined with a head or upper torso of a woman, and its legend stretches across Greek, Roman, medieval, Renaissance, and even modern American fantasy literature, where it has been reinterpreted as everything from a monstrous embodiment of divine punishment to a misunderstood symbol of female wrath, natural forces, or uncontrollable storms. In classical Greek mythology, harpies first appear in the works of Hesiod, where they are portrayed not merely as monstrous predators, but as swift agents of divine will who snatch away the wicked or the cursed at the command of the gods, especially Zeus, the ruler of the Olympians. Their name itself stems from the Greek word harpazion, meaning to snatch, which emphasizes their original defining behavior, the sudden abduction of mortals, spirits, or even objects. Over time, especially during the Hellenistic and Roman eras, they began to take on more horrifying physical qualities, described as foul-smelling, violent, destructive, and insatiable creatures whose wings stir chaotic winds and whose talons rip through flesh or carried away property animals, and sometimes even the souls of the condemned. Their most famous mythological encounter appears in the story of Phineas, the blind Thracian king cursed by the gods for revealing too many secrets of prophecy. The harpies repeatedly swoop down upon the food placed before him, snatching it away or fouling it with their foul excrement, leaving him perpetually starving until the arrival of the Argonauts, specifically the winged Boread twins, Zets and Calais, who chased the harpies away to the Strophades Islands, where they were forced to swear never to torment Phineas again. This myth illustrates the dual nature of harpies in early myth. Terrifying but not necessarily evil, serving as instruments of divine justice rather than independent malevolent beings. As the mythic tradition expanded into Roman literature, particularly in the writings of Virgil, Ovid, and later medieval theologians, the harpy transformed into a symbol of curses, famine, punishment, and the misery associated with unending hunger or torment. Virgil's Aeneid even describes them as prophetic monsters whose screeching voices predicted doom for Aeneas and his men, further cementing their role as creatures associated with both physical and spiritual affliction. Through the Middle Ages, harpies took on a more allegorical and moralistic interpretation, frequently appearing in Christian bestiaries and theological commentaries as representations of the sins of greed, gluttony, or unrestrained desire. Medieval artists illustrated them as grotesque vulture-like beings with ragged wings, decaying faces, and razor-sharp claws, a visual meant to evoke the horrors of damnation or the consequences of moral decay. These depictions significantly influenced Renaissance art, where harpies appeared in sculptures, tapestries, illuminated manuscripts, and architectural embellishments, often carved into pillars or framing religious scenes as reminders of the chaos and some that divine order must overcome. As Western civilization advanced into the Enlightenment and Victorian eras, harpies increasingly shifted into literary metaphors. Authors used them to depict predatory women, destructive temptations, or uncontrollable natural forces, such as storms and hurricanes, reflecting society's anxieties and cultural biases about femininity, danger, and the wild. In modern fantasy, especially in the United States, through film, video games, tabletop RPGs, folklore retellings, and dark fantasy novels, the harpy underwent yet another transformation. She became less a symbol of divine punishment and more a species or creature belonging to a fantasy ecological niche, often living in remote mountains, desolate cliffs, or storm-torn coastlines. Contemporary creators treat harpies as semi-intelligent humanoid avians with unique cultures, instincts, societies, mating habits, and even moral codes. In many role-playing settings such as Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, harpies are described as dangerous but not always evil, gifted with enchanting or hypnotic song, capable of luring sailors or travelers to their doom, an idea that merges harpies with sirens, even though in classical mythology these were distinct beings. In biological and speculative zoological interpretations, harpies are analyzed as if they were real animals, and authors propose anatomical explanations for their hybrid bodies: powerful pectoral muscles for sustained flight, immense wingspans, hollow bones for lighter structure, keratinous claws for hunting, and vocal structures capable of producing human-like speech or imitative calls. Some creators imagine harpies as omnivorous scavengers who feed on carrion along coastal cliffs, while others depict them as predatory raptors hunting goats, deer, fish, or even humans using coordinated flock behavior similar to that of intelligent birds of prey. Culturally, modern stories often reinterpret harpies through feminist or psychological lenses, viewing them as symbols of repressed female anger, misunderstood voices, or the untamed power of nature. They are sometimes cast as guardians of sacred places, protectors of the environment, or tragic beings cursed by ancient gods. This perspective flips the traditional patriarchal depiction of harpies as monstrous women, and instead treats them as victims of divine injustice or scapegoats representing society's fear of assertive femininity. In American pop culture, harpies appear in television shows, comics, monster encyclopedias, and fantasy films, often depicted with diverse morphologies, from elegant bird women with colorful plumage to demonic vulture hybrids with skull-like faces and ragged feathers. Their personalities vary widely across media. Some are cunning and malicious, some are noble and proud, others are curious, shy, or intelligent, depending on the genre and tone of the story. Psychological interpretations of harpy myths suggest that ancient civilizations used them to externalize fears about storms, sudden disappearances, famine, or violent wind gusts, natural events that seemed unpredictable and hostile, especially in a pre-